Hi, I'm Angelo Natalie, and you're watching a podcast where nostalgia comes alive. It's Jake's Happy Nostalgia Show. Roll it!
Welcome to Jake's Happy Nostalgia Show, where nostalgia comes alive. Join Jake and his friends on a journey through pop culture of the past, where they interview professionals in the worlds of acting, directing, writing, puppeteering, and so much more. Who will they be chatting with today? Find out in this Jake's Happy Nostalgia Show episode.
Hello everyone, welcome to this episode of Jake's Happy Nostalgia Show, where nostalgia comes alive. Happy to hear with us. Thank you for joining. As always, I'm your host, Jake Deffenbaugh. Me today, of course, our co-hosts, Chris Bixby and Matt Bingle. How you guys doing?
We're doing good.
Doing good. Hi, everybody. How are you, Jake?
I'm doing great, Matt. Thank you for asking. What do we have for today?
Our guest today is a songwriter and music composer. He's done some commercial spots for Pizza Hut, Cabbage Patch Kids, and Pepsi. But most of you may know him for being a songwriter for the Barney franchise, starting with the second generation, which kicked off in 1997. We are very delighted to welcome Angelo Natalie. Angelo, happy to have you here.
Thanks, guys. It's great to be here. Appreciate it.
Of course.
My pleasure.
Of course, our pleasure. So to kick this off, could you tell our audience a little bit about yourself and what you do?
Okay, so I'm a musician, songwriter. Started on the drums when I was like 14 years old and played in rock bands throughout high school. And I majored in music education at Edinburgh State College right out of high school. Didn't finish. I dropped out of school in the middle of my fourth semester there. And so I was playing in a nightclub, playing drums in a nightclub band like 4 nights a week. And then, that's probably the biggest reason I dropped out of school. I was trying to go to school and do that at the same time. That wasn't working out. So, you know what? All right, so most of my adult life, I have been writing and producing music for advertising and children's programming. And I was working for Hummingbird Productions in New York City. And one of our biggest accounts was the Cabbage Patch Kids during the Cabbage Patch craze. When like mothers were killing each other to get at the Cabbage Patch dolls.
Yes. Oh yeah.
And so we were doing these commercials, and so I got to be buddies with this guy who was one of the producers from an ad agency. And he moved from New York down to Texas and was involved in the TV production business in Texas. And he got to be friends with the people that were producing Barney. So he gave me a call one day. Now this is like in the like mid '90s, okay. And he said, "Hey, the guys and the producers at Barney are looking for some new songwriters." And I thought, "Well, this is great. Even if I got like 3 or 4 songs on the show, that'd be like a nice feather in my cap and like a nice thing to put on the resume." And so I started writing for them and ended up doing like over 30 songs for them over the next few years. And that was a great experience. And when Barney ran its course, one of the executive producers from Barney started a new show called Boz the Green Bear next door. And they called me to write songs for Boz, B-O-Z. And they said, "We want you to do like the lion's share of the writing," which was really cool. So I ended up writing over 30 songs for Boz. That was like direct to home video back in the day, like before streaming video was super common. It's like the early 2000s, let's say. And all during that time, I was doing like a lot of toy commercials for a small ad agency that only did toy commercials. So we did Nickelodeon stuff, Dora the Explorer, SpongeBob, all those different properties. They would license get permission to use those characters in toys. And then this small ad agency produced the commercials and I did the music. And that was fun. That was like that was a good run of doing that.
Nice.
So that's basically what I've been doing. But I would have to say that the advertising music stuff has, as they say in the advertising world, has gone away. That's like a thing. That's a cliche, you know. Like, oh, that account, it went away. Well, the advertising music stuff has gone away because it's gotten so much into licensing, existing hits, you know, that type of thing.
Yeah.
So, anyway,
Yeah.
yeah. So that's a little bit of the background.
Nice.
Absolutely. So, what was your childhood like, and how did you grow up?
Okay. So I grew up in Erie, Pennsylvania, second born of 8 children. In you know, my parents were first generation born in America. All 4 of my grandparents came from Sicily. So our like Italian heritage was loomed large in our household. And we lived in Little Italy. Believe it or not, Erie, Pennsylvania has a Little Italy. And I grew up there. And, you know, I went to like 12 years of Catholic schools. And, you know, again, that's when I, you know, got interested in music. Like when I was in my adolescence, the Beatles invaded the U.S., you know, so everybody wanted to be the Beatles.
Yeah.
And so me and a few of my friends started a band called the Spiders.
Oh,
You know,
nice.
right?
That's
The
cool.
Beatles. And
I like that. Yeah.
it was fun, you know. So that, you know, and then when I graduated from grade school, my parents got me a set of drums, which I still have. And you know, I started playing like high school dances and that type of thing.
Oh,
The
nice.
YMCA. Yeah, a lot of fun. Back then, like, you could get, you could be a teenager and get like a lot of gigs playing live. Not so much anymore. Like, there's not, you know, not so much, a lot of live bands playing at high school dances and stuff. It's mostly DJs, and that has been like that for decades. But you know, in the late '60s, when I was coming up and through high school, yeah, you can get like a lot of gigs playing live, and it was great fun. And then again, like I said, once I started college, I was playing in a club band. We were the house band at a nightclub, and we played at least 4 nights a week there.
Hmm.
So
Very nice. So now what made you kind of want to have a career in music? Like, did you always want to work in music?
well, you see my background. I just got that from Copilot, you know, Microsoft's Copilot. I asked Copilot to create an image that features a jazz band, a jazz that in a dimly lit jazz club with a wolf playing on drums. And when I was like 4 years old, I was watching a cartoon, and it must have been like like it was an old classic cartoon. Even then, it was like probably from the 40s, whatever. And these guys were playing, you know, and everybody's playing, you know, this jazz stuff, and then everybody broke. They stopped, and just the drummer started, you know, he's doing a drum solo. He goes in, this is a cartoon, he goes in front of the drums and he's playing the kick drum, the bass drum with his hands, you know. And I go, 4 years old, I go, that's what I want to do when I grow up. I want to be a drummer. So that was really the beginnings of it. And I hounded my parents for a set of drums, like literally all through grade school. You know, we had a big family. My dad was a cop. You know, back then the police didn't make a lot of money, you know, so it was like they really couldn't afford it. And then finally, you know, they sprung for a set of drums when I graduated from 8th grade.
Awesome. So, I'm kind of curious. Growing up, were there any musical artists you were most influenced by?
Yeah. Okay. So when I was, you know, I don't know how old I was when the Beatles showed up. I mean, it's already into, you know, I was already obviously into music before we knew about the Beatles. So my mom was a stay-at-home mom, and she always had the radio on, listening to top 40 radio. So we'd hear all the pop songs, you know, all the pop hits. And so I grew up listening to all that stuff in the late 50s, early 60s. And then when the Beatles appeared on the Ed Sullivan Show, and they released that first album. That was the thing for so many of like baby boomer musicians. That was the event that it's a cliche, to say this, that was it, like you see that and like, that kind of seals it for you. So the Beatles and all the English bands like the Rolling Stones, the Who, the Animals, of course I'm not sure if the Animals, they were British. All those bands, they were like a huge influence. Is it the Dick Clark? No, Dave Clark Five. Dave Clark Five and the Beatles were like neck and neck for a while, and then the Dave Clark Five kind of petered out, and the Beatles kept going. Anyway, so yeah, those early, and then there was also like this black music going on that because I was a drummer, I was really attracted to, like Wilson Pickett, James Brown, these African American solo singers, Sam and Dave. Those guys were on the radio too. Radio wasn't so highly focused on like, a hip hop station or a country station or whatever. It'd be like pop music would have like Frank Sinatra and the Beatles and Wilson Pickett and James Brown all playing at the same time. So yeah, so like I played a lot of in the bands, we would mix Beatles with Wilson Pickett. There's some great, he had hit so many great hits, that guy. So those are the influences right there.
Nice. A lot of wonderful influences.
Yes, a lot of great ones. So very early on, you were in a gospel rock group called Clockwise.
Right.
Could you kind of talk a bit about that?
Okay, so the year that I dropped out of school, it was like, that was 1972. It was really a troubled time, in the world, for one thing, and then in my life as well. So I quit the club band that I was in, and I moved to Akron, Ohio, and joined a band called Ma Brown. And while we were getting we were rehearsing, we all lived in a house together. It was like, a crazy time. And I had like a profound, like spiritual experience, a dramatic conversion, I'll call it. And I was 20 years old, and that is when I kind of had to make some like decisions. Am I going to keep on doing, pursuing this whole rock and roll thing, or do I want to be more kind of what they call faith-based? Back then it was called Jesus rock. Now then it became contemporary Christian music. But so like in the 70s, I started a band that eventually was called Clockwise, and we produced an album in Cleveland, produced by a guy named Al Perkins, who was a serious cat in the music business. He was a session musician himself. He played with the Stones and all these heavy hitters, and he produced our album. And it's so yeah, that lasted probably a good 6 years that we did Clockwise before I moved to Nashville in '82.
Nice.
Then I got in '82, I got a job as a staff writer producer with Hummingbird Productions, which is was a jingle house, and it was like really one of the leading jingle houses in Nashville. So I really went from being like a big fish in a small pond to like being a really small fish in a big pond when I moved to Nashville. That was a real sobering kind of thing. It was great though, because it really challenged me to grow my skills, and it was awesome.
Nice, nice.
Hey, so after Clockwise, you created the jingle. Speaking of jingle companies, you created your own Bon Natale music.
Right.
Quite the name. How did that kind of come about for you?
Okay, so actually, so while I was still in Erie, 1980, I started. It's actually from it's buon. It's like, buongiorno, signore. It's buon Natale music. That means Merry Christmas, by the way. So Natale, my last name means Christmas. Buon Natale
Oh,
is
that's
the
nice.
equivalent to Merry Christmas. So in 1980, I started my own little jingle company, my own little one-man jingle company in Erie, Pennsylvania, and did like, I don't know, 8 jingles for like local advertisers in Erie. And I was the only jingle house based in Erie, and for good reason, because there wasn't much of a market. It was unlikely for an ad agency from a bigger city to call on a jingle house in Erie to do their music. Think about it. So I decided I needed to relocate to a music center. So it was either between New York City and Nashville. It was between those two. And because of the contemporary gospel connection in Nashville, I thought this would be a great place to kind of kill 2 birds with 1 stone. Go to Nashville, try to get into the jingle business there, and also try to work my original songs in the contemporary Christian music scene. And so in '82, I got the job with Hummingbird, and that lasted 5 years. And then when that ended, they transferred me to New York, by the way. I was in Nashville for less than 2 years. They transferred me to open an office in New York, and I was there for another over 3 years. And when we lost the Cabbage Patch account, our agency lost it, our ad agency. So the Hummingbird wanted me to transfer me to Chicago, and I didn't want to do that. I wanted to stay in New York area. So that's when I said, I'm going to go on my own. So on my own means I kind of resurrected Buon Natale music, and that was '87. I started doing jobs directly with ad agencies and TV networks.
It's wonderful. So through your jingle company, I know we mentioned in your intro you scored commercial spots for a bunch of different brands, like as Matt mentioned, Pizza Hut, Cabbage Patch Kids, and Pepsi. I know you kind of already talked about Cabbage, but with the other brands, like what was working on those like?
Okay, so what was really fun about Pepsi at that time, for instance, I worked on Pepsi with Hummingbird, and their agency BBDO was based in New York, and I was the only Hummingbird in New York. I was the only Hummingbird writer, so I was like the point man. That was really an exciting time to go into these big agencies. Like, these are the biggest agencies in the world with the top people, and the talent level in these agencies was really high. The writers, the art directors, the creative directors of the team, and just to see the way it worked. If they're working on a Pepsi campaign, for instance, they might have 3 or 5 creative teams competing with each other in the agency for the account. So everybody's coming up with all these different ideas, and then they present them to the client, and then the client picks which ones they like. And so I would be working, we, not just me, but the Hummingbird, we would then all be competing with each other, because we have like 5 composer producers that were on staff, and we're all writing ideas. So it was like the chance of getting like anything on the air was like pretty, it was very competitive. So it was exciting to be a part of that. And we had an office on Fifth Avenue that was, you say catty corner? It was like from the main branch of the New York Public Library. My kids used to call it the Ghostbusters Library, because that's where the first Ghostbusters was shot. They had the first ghost sighting at the public library. I just watched Ghostbusters this past week too. It was fun. The movie's 40 years.
Actually.
Oh yes.
Have you seen it?
Yeah,
The first one, yeah.
It's such a fun
must
movie.
been.
great.
It's like
movie.
40 years old.
Right.
It's
That's
crazy.
But like, so my office was like, right across the street from that library. When it was nice out, I would have lunch over there. But that was a great time, because, again, I was in New York, commuting every day from Connecticut on the Metro North train, like 5 days a week for like 3.5 years. And I really thought, like, this is going to be my life. I would see these old guys, like guys that are my age now. They'd be on the train. I go, oh shoot, that's going to be me. Years from now, every day on this train. But didn't play out that way. So.
Hmm.
Nope. Doesn't sound like it. So since 1991, you've been the music director at Living Hope Community Church.
Right.
What is it like working there and being a music director for a church?
Okay, so this Living Hope used to be called the Presbyterian Church of Old Greenwich, PCOG. It was like kind of a traditional Presbyterian church. They had an organist, a choir director, and a choir, and they did like 3 hymns, And so in the early 90s, they decided that they wanted to incorporate contemporary praise music in their worship services. So they
Mhm.
started looking for somebody who can do that. And, I had, even though I wasn't doing it at another church, I had a lot of experience with contemporary music, and I had written a lot of, contemporary Christian music. And so I applied for the job and got that job in 91. So doing the math, it's coming up on 33 years there. And it went from being like me on the piano with plus the organist, and they still had the choir. So I would do contemporary music, and they would still do the choir anthem, and stuff. But eventually it morphed into like a praise band where we have electric guitar, electric bass, drums. I'm playing a digital piano, and we have a couple singers, a couple, 1 or 2 string players, So it's much more of like a full band kind of thing. And this is, I don't know if you guys are familiar with the genre, but like you can go on YouTube and just type and do a search like praise and worship, and you're going to be like, whoa, it's like some really, high end kind of production values, and, very contemporary sounding, not corny sounding, good stuff, Um,
So now since we're now moving on to talking about Barney,
mhm.
how did you kind of begin working for them?
Okay, so like I said, I had all the experience doing, um, especially the toy commercials, but especially the Cabbage Patch Kids. The ad agency that had the Cabbage Patch account called Richard and Edwards, it's defunct. Um, there was a producer there, a guy named Steve. Like I said, he worked in the city, in New York City, and he moved to Texas, and that's where he met the Barney people. I wasn't looking for it. He called me up and said, "Hey, they're looking for writers, and so they asked me to just submit a children's song, you know.
Hmm.
So I think one kind of skill I have is the ability to think like a small child. Okay. And which
Right.
you
Okay.
like, it looks like you guys are, I see all the toys back there.
Oh
You
yeah.
maybe are into this, but like, if you could think like a small child, you could communicate with them, And so I
Right.
wrote this song.
Mm-hmm.
This is like a test song. It wasn't even like there was no guidance except that send us a kid's song. So I wrote a song. I didn't like pull in out of my repertoire stuff that I had maybe already written. I wrote the song called "I Am Learning to Spell My Name" because that's like
Oh
a
yeah,
big deal
yeah.
for kids.
Yeah,
know?
that's a good
Yeah,
song, yeah.
yeah,
I've been learning to spell my
yeah,
name, each and every letter, and I'm learning to spell my name, and each day I get better. And they loved it.
yeah.
But so they start sending me like real assignments where they would say, write a song about numbers. I mean, I'm seriously, that would be the thing.
Right, because Barney was a very simple thing.
It was
Yeah.
very simple,
Very
and
educational and
Yeah.
No.
Always trying to. So I wrote I wrote the song "Find the Numbers in Your House."
Oh
Okay,
yeah, yeah. That's a good
thinking
one.
like
Yeah.
thinking like a kid again. You're in
Yeah.
how there's numbers all over the place. There used to be like a a landline on the wall. Like the telephone landline. Or there'd
Yeah.
be like the television clicker, the clock. All these different places we find numbers, and so it'd be like that. Another assignment was write a song about colors. So I wrote, my jeans are always blue. My shirt might be this, my jacket's that, my belt is this, my shoes are that, but my jeans are always blue. So so I try not to be so like on the nose, like red is a color, green is a color, blue, like
Yeah.
sound like a little story that kind of engage the little tykes.
Yeah.
So
Nice.
Absolutely. I'm kind of curious how familiar you were with Barney before starting working on it.
okay, so it was hard to not know about Barney. I'm trying to think if any of my kids really watched Barney. So I have like 4 children. Like 3 of them were born kind of close to each other. Then we took like a 9-year break. So Barney might have showed up during that break. I actually think he did. And but like it was hard to not know about Barney. I you know I can't say that sat down and watched Barney for more than 7 seconds before that kind of thing. But because they when they do these shows, man, they have like a book.
Yeah.
Like all about the character and like
Like what
kind
the
of
show's
vibe.
about, like,
Yeah,
yeah,
the full
like the
philosophy of
lessons and
it.
things, yeah.
And that was the same thing
Mhm.
with like Boz the Bear. Of course, some of the same people from Barney did Boz the Green Bear next door. Yeah, so they had a philosophy and they had certain kind of guidelines. Like they don't want you to. It's not for the wasn't for the parents, which was kind of Barney was probably more annoying to parents than say like Sesame Street, because
Yeah.
Sesame Street kind of like winked like they would kind of throw the parents a bone, like and those things would like go over the kids' heads. Barney
Yeah.
was all about the kids, so I will give him that, and I hope that when Mattel is going to reboot, is rebooting Barney. It's going to
Yeah,
be called
Barney's World. Yeah.
Barney's
Yeah.
World, right? So I mean, I hope that they kind of rediscover that wisdom about making it for the. Though actually, some of the news releases are like they. I think they want to stir up some nostalgia with the parents.
Yeah.
I mean, I get that. That's cool, but of course, when Barney was first started, it was fresh, and that was their philosophy. So,
Yeah.
it was cool.
Very nice,
Yeah.
very nice.
Yeah, it's very true. So I'm curious, are there any Barney songs that you wrote that stick out as some of your favorites?
Okay, yeah. So, this one they used at the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade.
I
And
know
I
exactly
totally-
which one you're talking about.
so
Yeah.
I think
I
I do
was like,
too.
I don't always watch the parade, but this one Thanksgiving, I just happened, the parade was on TV, and I walked into the living room, and now here's our friend Barney singing, and he sang, "It's Cold BRRRR. I wish I
Yes.
had
Yes,
fur."
love
You know,
that song.
That is a
so
great
it's
song,
like,
yeah.
Great. That's a
So
now,
great.
great.
in Barney, it's like Barney's like, um, Bingo was his name. O.B. It's like kiddie stuff. So like
Yeah.
to get like a Barney rap in.
Yeah.
As a talk about the about like cold and
The cold
Right, it's
weather.
good. It's cold, burr. I wish I had fur. I wish I was a bear with furry fur hair. It's cold. And
Yeah.
had this groove going. It goes
Yeah.
when my teeth start to chatter and my fingers freeze. That's how I know it's cold. Bow, bow, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like,
and Joe Phillips can just like do all the arrangement for
who
that.
I never met. You know, I never met. I did go to Texas once and met the producers. I was sat in on a shooting of the show, and I met the Barney who's in the suit,
Yeah, David Joyner. Yeah.
David
and then the
Joyner.
Barney
yeah,
who's in
yeah,
Barney's
great
in the
job.
booth,
Uh,
who is Bob West.
Oh,
And those
Gosh,
guys,
so
it was uncanny.
they really
how
brought life to that character.
They
My
had
goodness.
they had a script. Obviously they had scripts, but there was like a little bit of stuff going on that like just happened, you know, that really worked. You know, like little things that was kind of uncanny. So a lot of fun to witness that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
previous guests have told us about that kind of thing, especially with the voices like Bob and Patty Wirtz and Julie Johnson. You know, they played off of each other really well, and even in between takes, they would say stuff that gladly did not make it into the show, but
Oh well,
but
okay. I mean, I could tell you something. I think that it is fun, and matter of fact, when I witnessed it, the producer looked at me and she said, and I'm taking a picture, and she goes, "No, none of this goes like public, you know.
Right.
It wasn't naughty, it wasn't bad or anything, but it was
right,
David Joyner is a really funny guy, and he's the guy in the suit, and he told me that like in the summers, he would do sprints like in the baking heat, like to get in shape. He was like super fit, you know. You know, if you watch it from when he was in the suit, he's like doing these flips, you know. And
Oh,
so
yeah.
between take, they're doing this song that I wrote called "In My Family."
Yeah.
And it kind of was kind of rhythmic,
Uh-huh.
you know. In my family, in
Yep.
my family. So you know, and so we're
Mhm.
between takes, and David goes, "Man, Angelo," he goes, "your music just makes me want to dance." He said, "I want the whole world to know there's a black man in this suit." You know, and everybody just cracked up because probably nobody in the world knew there was a black man. In this.
No, nobody knew.
And so what he did, like he does that, the people are dying laughing. He gets down on the floor and he starts breakdancing.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, and that's when the producer said to me, "She goes, none of these photos go out, you know, because
No.
I think it's pretty harmless for me to share that with you now after all these years. But it was pretty funny, you know.
Oh, the way
I'll never
you
forget. Never
you just
forget.
said it so confidently too. That's
I
No,
know.
He was like so, but he was like, he's
Like,
trying to
no
be funny.
pressure. He just said,
yeah,
He just said it was very funny. He was trying to be funny, and he was.
he
And
was.
just people just died laughing, you know. And yeah, I don't know
they're-
who
Yeah.
I don't know what happened. You know, I wasn't on the inside. I'm here. They're down there in Texas producing all this stuff, and I'm in Connecticut in my little, you know, personal studio, and I wasn't privy to like a lot of comings and goings of personnel and that type of thing. But my contact was with like the music supervisor and the producers.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
yeah. There's so many wonderful songs that you got to wrote. I think probably might remember Books Are Fun.
Oh yeah,
Yes,
Books.
that's a great
Books are
one.
fun. That
But-
one was used a lot.
It
Yeah,
was.
You Can Count on Me.
That was okay. You can count on me. It was the 10th anniversary
Yes.
theme
Yeah,
song.
yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, for Sing and Dance with Barney.
Sing and Dance with
That's
Barney.
so
Yeah.
funny.
Mhm.
Yeah. So yeah, that was all like just expounding on the whole "I love you" vibe. You know, we're
Yeah.
friends. You can count on me. I love you. And,
Yeah.
yeah, that really got a lot of use. just to be honest with you, I'm hoping that Mattel kind of rediscovers some of the things that are in their catalog. I mean,
Yeah.
besides the stuff that I wrote, there's like probably literally hundreds of original songs that are in the Barney catalog
Oh
Oh
yeah,
yeah.
by various
a lot of 'em.
songwriters
Yeah.
and stuff.
So many.
Yeah.
Of course, well, like you see what Mattel did with Barbie. They contracted high-end, well-known artists to
Oh yeah.
write and produce, pop hits basically for Barbie. I don't know if they're doing a Barney movie. You guys, I'm sure, have read
Yes.
about that.
Yeah. Yeah. I've heard about that.
Mhm.
Yeah, there hasn't been an
Um,
update on it in a while, but I know they
No.
at least were planning on working. I don't know if it's
Right.
still happening, but
Yeah.
yeah, working on something
Yeah.
like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Another one of my.
Squishy.
Oh yeah,
Squishy. Washy.
yeah.
Oh,
Squishy, squishy, squashy.
okay.
That's a good
So,
one.
okay, squishy, squashy, washy. So, that was the assignment was um, write a song about washing your hands, and so I wrote that, and it was very well received. But then when the pandemic happened, I thought, wow, this is a great opportunity to, if somebody was working the Barney catalog, they would have maybe seized upon that to do like some kind of a re-release
Oh yeah.
or
yeah,
a
yeah.
re-record
Yeah.
of Squishy, because if you
Yeah.
remember, everybody's encouraged to like wash your hands
Yeah.
before you do anything.
Mhm.
And so I tried to take it upon myself to post, guys, I got like tens and tens of responses, tens of engagements. In other words, not a lot, on the idea of, squishy, squashy, washy during the pandemic.
Yeah. That's yeah. Love that song. It's
I
so
like.
funny that you kind of like mention about like kind of pandemic. You kind of wrote like another song, something like that too. Share your um uh
It's not
like
so tough to share
kind
your
of
stuff.
Yeah,
yeah. Uh-huh.
that's a good one.
Yeah.
It's a good one. I also like Nothing Beats a Pizza.
Oh
Well,
yeah.
being
That's a
Italian,
fun one.
and the whole
Being
thing of like,
Italian, yeah.
who,
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and
who,
Being
it's a
Italian.
beautiful day.
mm,
Yeah,
Oh
so
yeah.
many
I
good
forgot
ones.
about that one.
Way
yeah.
too many. Like we're
That.
gonna keep mentioning them.
the pizza thing, though, the
so
last
great.
line goes, "Who's going to eat the last piece?" Like that's a thing. That's like like a universal experience. You got a pizza in a box. You got all these hungry people like vultures over the box. And there's like one piece left. Who's
Yeah.
going to eat the last piece?
Right.
Yeah, so now moving on from Barney, of course, you mentioned you were the primary songwriter for Boz the Green Bear Next Door, which
Right.
you mentioned had some of the other Barney people involved in it too. What was it like getting, transitioning from Barney to now working with them on this other project?
Well, it was very similar, except that this was Boz the Bear is faith based. And so, but not all the songs were God songs. It was, in a narrow sense, like we um, did a song like about like under the was it under something, Disney had it Under the Sea. Um, so I wrote a song that was about underwater life. It's just that's all it was about. I can't remember the name of it. So there was some song, like you know, for Earth Day, whatever, or maybe I just used it on Earth Day. But it's like I wrote a song called God's Green Earth. No, actually, it was a song about that was an assignment for Colors too, but coming from like a faith-based show like Boz, they said write a song about colors. So I wrote God's green earth is not just green; so many different colors can be seen. So then, I brought in all the other primary colors in the song, kind of thing. So that was a little bit of difference. So it had that kind of the faith-based angle to it that Barney did not, kind of thing.
Right. So Another one of your longest running jobs was at St. Aloysius Church,
St. Aloysius, yeah. So
St.
St.
Aloysius.
Aloysius is it's a Catholic parish in New Canaan, Connecticut. You guys ever hear of New Canaan?
Well, yeah, I used to live in Connecticut, so I think I've been there
So New
a
Canaan
few
is
times.
I live in Stamford. New
Oh
Canaan is
yeah.
like the
Okay.
next town up. Like so St. Aloysius is literally like an 11-minute drive from my
Mm-hmm.
house. And so I was a member there in I joined like in the year 2000, and they had a Sunday night teen mass. So it was like geared for the high school kids. And what they would do is they would do like it was a straight up Catholic mass, but the music would all be contemporary Christian music. And so I got to be friends with the guy who was music directing that, and he would have, and I would volunteer like to join him sometime. And then he left, and so the pastor asked me if I would kind of take it over. So I was there for quite a while, um, and until the parish got a new music director, who then handled all of the liturgies, including that teen mass.
Mm.
So that was like 7 years ago.
Mm.
But that was cool because um, I would write stuff specifically for mass. Like, I don't know if you're familiar with the liturgy at all, but like, there's like these parts that are sung every time. You know what I mean? Like, and like the old classical composers would write these big masses, like Bach and Beethoven. They write these masses. Well, this was I would write like these little pop masses, like with contemporary music that we would use week after week, kind of thing. Um, just these little short. Sometimes they were like 40 seconds long, or sometimes 90 seconds, or a minute, whatever. But that's all sprinkled throughout the liturgy. So that was a great writing kind of opportunity, to write new
Mm.
stuff.
Very nice. So since we're getting close to kind of wrapping up here, can
Yeah.
you share any projects you're currently working on?
So I'm still at Living Hope, formerly PCOG. That's like a part-time enterprise, and I'm also the music director at a Saturday night um, Catholic mass that only uses contemporary music. It's not a teen mass per se; it's for everybody, but um, it's all contemporary music. But as far as production goes, I'm concentrating on releasing my own original music. I just finished WestCon.
Oh, nice.
I graduated from
Nice.
Western Connecticut State University last year, and
Ah, it's
Oh,
wonderful.
nice.
I got a
Nice.
bachelor's in.
Congratulations.
Thank you very
Congrats.
much. Bachelor's in music with an emphasis on music production, and so part of my um, the school requirements is like I was like producing all this original music. And so I'm been since I graduated slowly. I want to do it monthly, but it's not quite that. I'm releasing original music, but I'm like one man. Unlike my guys behind me on my, I'm like a one man operation. So like when I release a single, it's like what you got to do to do all that. So like I'm besides producing everything and mixing it and mastering it. You have to upload it and you have to register for this and that, different, ASCAP and all these things. Anyway, so I'm making excuses, but it hasn't been once a month. But that's really the focus of my production is my own original stuff, which could be heard on my YouTube channel, Angelo Natalie, spelled like Natalie. Also, my website, angelonatalie.com. Um, so yeah, that's what I'm working on.
Very nice. And so
Wonderful.
the
Very looking forward to it.
yes, absolutely. So this last question that Jake here is going to ask, we ask all of our guests at the end. Go ahead, Jake.
Thank you, Chris. Of course, this podcast is called Jake's Happy Nostalgia Show. When you think of nostalgia, what do you think of? In your own words, how would you define the word nostalgia?
Nostalgia. Okay, so I have to go back to when I was a wee one, like in the 50s, and you wake up on Saturday morning and you watch cartoons like all morning, like for like 3 hours at least. And so that's that. I guess that's the first place I go, and I'd be there with my siblings, when we're watching these cartoons together. And um, if you ever saw A Christmas Story, the one where the kid tells us that's kind of like one of my memory of my childhood. That's black and white, and cars from the 1950s, and Elvis coming on when I was like, Elvis came on the scene when I was like probably 4 years old, whatever. Around the same time when I was like decided I was going to be a drummer. So yeah, it's just for me, thankfully, I'm happy to say that for me, nostalgia is a positive thing. I think I had a pretty happy childhood. I had parents that loved me, and I had, being a baby boomer, I'd go outside and there'd be hundreds of kids because like everybody was having kids, after World War II, and I always had playmates, and there was always something to do, and yeah.
Nice. Great word to end on. Well, Angelo, thank you so much for taking the time to do this. This was a blast.
Hey, I enjoyed it, guys. Somebody send me a link and I would love to. So this is we're still recording. Sorry. Thank you so much. I appreciate the invitation, and it was fun to tell that story. Let me know where I can watch it myself. And
Yes, absolutely. I will definitely keep you posted on that.
Yeah, we'll let you know.
Yes. All right. Well, enjoy the rest of your day, Angelo.
all right. Thanks a lot, guys.
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you so much for what you've done, and can I wait what's next in store for you? Thank you very much for what you've done over the years. With Barney, we grew up watching, your songs that you've done, so it means a lot for you taking time to be a guest. And can I wait what's next in store for you?
Thanks. Really appreciate it. Thanks so much. Have a good day, guys.
You
You're
too.
welcome.
Peace.
Bye-bye.
See you,
Bye-bye.
Angelo. Take care.
And it's goodbye from us as well. We absolutely enjoyed our time with Angelo Natalie. Links to his website and social media will be in the description down below for people to connect. Keep on the lookout for more wonderful interviews coming your way. And as always, what do we say, Jake?
Keep nostalgia alive. Take care, everyone. See you next time. Take care. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for tuning in to another wonderful Jake's Happy Nostalgia Show episode. Be sure to follow Jake and the Happy Nostalgia team on social media, check out our website, and stream the show wherever you find your favorite podcasts. And as always, remember to keep nostalgia alive. Bye-bye.